CAGR and compounded interest is a concept that is really important for you to understand as a marketeer or as a finance person. Start with something very basic. How much is 15 times 5? That's pretty easy, right? It's 75. Now, let's try to think about a company that is growing 15% per year. After 5 years, by how much it will have grown? Well, following the same math, we will get to 15 times 5 is 75, but that would be the incorrect answer. Let me explain why. The correct answer would be 100% because after year 1, the company, yes, has grown by 15%. But then on year 2, it would have grown more than to 130. That is 15 times 2. Because the new base is not 1. Now the company has sales of $1.15 billion. So you will get to 1.32. And on year 3, instead of 15 times 3 is 45, you will get to 1.52 and then 175. And by year 5, it will have reached $2 billion, not $1.75 billion, because the sales are growing by the amount that is on top of what it has already grown year by year. Now, let's look into some real numbers. What we see now are the revenue or sales for Procter & Gamble in $1 million. So in $1 billion, to get rid of the last 3 numbers, it was about 65.3 in 2016, and it grew to 80.2. So when we enter this into a CAGR calculator, what we see is that the compounded annual growth rate, it was 3.48%. The easiest way to do it will be to click on this number, on this formula right here, and then you can simply go and enter the numbers. I think it was 65299. And let me see how to go back to the other one. You can see the commercials. 8187. So let me go back to that number, 8187. And this one will happen for 8 years. So when I put 6 years and I press calculate, it will get me to the 3.48%. So that would be a real good way for you to be able to calculate the compounded annual growth rate, or CAGR. Now, the next thing that we want to think about is there something else that we can use for? So people talk about how much Bitcoin has grown, right? And at one point they said, well, it was worth $5,000 and now it's worth $100,000. But now let's take a look at Nvidia. It was about $4 in 2019, but take a look at what has happened. By April, yes, Bitcoin was at $100,000, but when you do the math, you see that it has grown by 19 times. And when you look at Nvidia, it has grown by 29 times. So we take a look at the different returns on investment, and this is a number that is really, really hard for us to appreciate because it's too high. A CAGR will be a number that is easier to look at. And when we do a CAGR, we see that it was 81% for Bitcoin and 97% per year for Nvidia. Now, let me show you the sales for Procter & Gamble, the numbers that I showed you before, now year by year. As you see, we started here and we ended up here. And so the overall CAGR was 3.48% or 3.5%. But take a look at the different growth rates. It would have been a mistake to only look at these 3 years or to only look at these 3 years. We do need to look into the CAGR. Now, the reason why it changed so much, it was a major increase in marketing investment that P&G did in 2019. And we're going to talk about that when we discuss incremental sales.